Hey, welcome to Tarmac. I'm Dave.
I'm Matthew, and this sedan coupe thing behind me is the BMW M235i.
That's right, it's a mixture of Series 1, Series 2, a little bit of 3 and some X2 in there as well. So it's plenty going on. Let's go and take a look. As we all know, BMWs do coupes or coupes very, very well. I mean, everything from their big SAVs, SUVs, SACs or whatever it is, down to their smaller stuff. But this is the first time that they've done it in a 2 Series, and they've pulled it off really well. Round the front, I'm a big fan of what they're doing with the kidney grills right now. They're really messing with them and really stamping them as being a dominant feature of their brand, and they really are. This one's got the mesh front, and I don't know, it's very attractive. Lots of lower scoops to let air going in, and a nice lower front spoiler, and LED headlights. Look at these, really strong, piercing, with lovely DRLs. They have this sort of loopy eye thing. It's really quite cool. Down the side, our model comes in Misano blue, which is, I mean, striking, particularly in the sunlight. Lovely strong 19-inch feet with run flat tires, but look, slivers of rubber on it. It's very, very cool. Running down the side, the M235 comes on the X2 platform, or basically, so it's a crossover at its roots, but this is lower, and also the length of it, 4.3 meters, is, it's kind of a stretched one, and a expanded or shorter X2. I don't know. It's like I said, it's a bit of a mongrel amongst them all. But also having that beautiful M badge means that it does light up the world every now and again, which is cool. Loving the copper accents that come on the wing mirrors, also down the front here. I don't know, all over the place. Nice little copper accents just to break it up a bit. And these are cool. Frameless doors, both front and rear. Really nice. Really, I don't know. Gives it that sporty appeal. Thing is, for the back door, there ain't much room to get in. It's particularly somebody my size. But, it's a sports car. Round the rear, the slightly sloping roof line comes down to this boot spoiler. Very narrow, squinty LED tail lights, which is cool. Exhaust tips are actually real exhaust. How cool. And the exhaust does make a great note, actually. And also a boot that opens up to 430 litres, so it's actually pretty good in there. But the other good stuff is under the bonnet. Under here is BMW's 2-litre twin-scroll turboed engine, which is really offering so much power and so much torque. Basically 225 kilowatts and 450 newton meters. Not bad at all. 0 to 100 comes in at 4.8 seconds, and it'll sip fuel at around about 7.6 litres per 100 kilometers, so actually not too bad. And grams per kilometer is roughly 172, 173. And boasting that M Performance badge, look at that, that's the all-important thing. It's very cool. You know it's going to go fast, and certainly when it's, attached to the four-wheel drive system that's underpinning it all, it's going to be great. Speaking of things that go fast, let's have a word with Matthew on the inside and he'll show you what goes on in there.
I try and run quickly through my interior reviews so we can get on to the next part, which is the driving, which is obviously fun. And especially in a car like this, it's going to be even more so. But anyway, before that, let's take a look at the interior. So, as Dave just pointed out to you, there's M badges and little M touches all over the exterior. And the same thing is true with the interior. So if you look straight at the dashboard, firstly you're confronted with that M badge on the steering wheel. You also have this sweeping sort of pattern going on the dashboard, which has got a little bit of a texture to it, but just breaks up that plastic from the top to the bottom. Other M touches in the cabin include these racing seats, which have little M colors on them, as well as having strong bolsters to keep you in place. Then, not to forget, of course, the seat belts have those 3 M colors on them. That's always a cool touch. You also get M badge carpets, always nice, and also a really very polished aluminium M235i running board for both the driver and the passenger. In terms of the center console, everything feels really nicely screwed into place, as you'd expect from BMW. It is covered in a layer of glossy piano black plastics, which are bound to attract some greasy fingerprints eventually, but it doesn't look too hard to clean. You also get 2 cup holders in here. You get a USB-A charger. I don't know how important that is, because nowadays every car seems to have USB-C chargers on them. But BMW are, understanding of people who have slightly outdated phones. But if you do have a USB-C type charger, there is one hiding away in this center armrest, along with, of course, some storage space for who knows what. Obviously, as most new cars have a space to store your phone, and so does this one. It's hiding just over here. It is a little bit hard to put your phone in there if you've got something big like I do, but it rests there quite nicely anyway. The cabin is full of soft touch plastics all over here, the center, the top of the dashboard, the doors, and even the doors, the bottom of the doors to some extent. It does feel a little bit scratchy, but could be worse. One of the big talking points of this interior is that Harman Kardon audio system as well. There are several speakers I can see within my view here, and a couple just behind the headrest of the rear passengers as well. But before we get to that, let's take a look at that infotainment system. So the infotainment system obviously comes with BMW's gesture control. So if you loop your finger around, you can actually get it to increase the volume or decrease the volume. If you make a gesture going this way or that way, you can change the radio station or the song you're listening to. And if you do a little 2-finger gesture like that, that just mutes the audio system. This infotainment screen is actually a touch screen as well, so you can go into things like the driver's settings and the car settings. You can adjust the source of the media, and if you're not so keen on getting your fingers on here, you can also use the dial over here, which is, as always, easy to use and frankly one of the simplest out there. The other screen over here is the digital instrument cluster in front of you. Right now we are in sport mode, so it's all red and very angry, and everything's highlighted in an orangey color to make you drive fast. But if you're not so keen on looking at the directions over there, there's also a head-up display straight ahead, which has things like the speed that you are going and the speed on the road, which may be different at times, and of course the navigation as well. There's plenty of space in the front here. There's a plethora of storage spaces, some very cool M touches, but remember, this is a coupe sedan thing, or Gran Coupe as BMW likes to call it, and there are back seats, so let's hop in the back and see how those feel. As Dave pointed out earlier on his exterior walk around, it is quite hard to get into the back. The sloping roofline, the small entry of the doors, and this very high sill going down all make it a little bit tough to get into the back. But once you're in here, you'll find that it's a comfortable place to be. You've got a fair bit of knee room in front of you, plenty of foot room, and even though it has a sloping roofline, you do get ample amount of headroom as well for a sizable person like myself. Of course, the windows are tinted and they are sloping, as you'd expect with a Gran Coupe like this car. So some of you that like a huge view of the world outside might feel like it's a little bit of a dark place, but don't worry, BMW's got you covered because there's a quarter glass back here with some extra light as well. And if that isn't enough for you still, there's a panoramic sunroof above there, which on a bright and blue sky day like today, there couldn't be anything better. But actually there could be something better, and that's the noise and the performance of this car. Let's take it for a drive and see how those M credentials stack up.
It's fair to say that anything with an M badge on from a BMW point of view is is going to grab my attention. This is not quite a full-on M car, but it certainly has the M credentials. So it's again, as we said before, it's sort of an M car. It's sort of 1 series, it's sort of a 2 series, it's sort of a crossover. It's just a sort of car, and often that would be that sort of Frankenstein pushing things together wouldn't work, but somehow in this it really does.
I mean, it certainly looks great from the outside, and especially in this Misano blue color, it's something that, you know, is quite unique and quite eye-catching as well. And that the way the sloping roofline goes down, and that very angular shape of the rear door, all those things make it a real looker on the road. And not to forget, of course, those ultra cool frameless doors. They make up for any sort of imperfections this car has.
The engine, let's get that out of the way first. It's nice, it's quick. There is a little bit of turbo lag as the turbo starts to scroll, but once it's moving, I mean, it is moving. Sub 5 seconds for a 0 to 100 is not to be sniffed at, particularly in, you know, a budget version. I don't know if I can call it a budget version of BMW's M series, M cars.
And remember, this is still a 2-liter turbo we're talking about. It's got some real grunt to it, and that certainly comes through the exhausts at the back, which are real, as you know. It just, the way it puts out the sound, even in normal comfort mode, it just does a really good job of it. And as soon as you go into sport mode, well, it opens the taps and just explodes with noise.
Handling wise, it grips nicely. I mean, you'd expect it to grip nicely with the BMW 4-wheel drive system. You would, and it does. It delivers nicely. If you push too hard, it will understeer in corners, but they'd have to be a tight corner, and you'd have to be doing something that's not road legal. You can correct it with, you know, just putting your foot down that a little bit further. Everything then takes place nicely. But you won't notice on a day-to-day basis unless you really are attacking 35-kilometer corners at stupidly, treble digits.
One thing that makes that excellent cornering possible is the hard suspension, or the sports suspension if you like. Now, it does mean that driving it is fun, and, you know, going around corners, you can do that very quickly and very confidently, but it does, however, mean that you do get a little bit of bumps coming through into the cabin on a day-to-day basis, and especially on a rough road such as this one, it can get a little bit annoying after a bit of time.
Something that's really good is the seats. I mean, BMW sport seats.
Is the fact that they're soft. Often you get these racing or sport seats which have a hard shell, and, you know, as soon as you accelerate, you're flung back in, but the pain is more from getting hit by that shell rather than being flung back. But there's nothing of that sort with these seats. They are comfortable.
Of course, it's got the Hey BMW system, so it will sort yourself out or help you through with just conversation. It will park itself. It remembers your last 50 meters, so it's got reverse assistance. It's got a whole heap of technology to make your life better and, I don't know, make your driving experience that much more pleasurable.
And of course, along with that excellent array of technology, it's also got those customizable driving modes, so you can flick through between sport, comfort, and of course Eco Pro, which I'm not sure if they've misplaced that button in this car or something, but it's a proper performance car.
As a driver, I'm really happy with the feel of the M Sport steering wheel, the amount of information you get on the instrument cluster, the whole infometrics is awesome. There's so much information thrown at you. Even the head-up display is clear and informative. It's it's a good place to be in the driver's seat. The passenger, I don't know.
You do feel a little bit left out, that's for sure, over here, because as with most performance cars, the dashboard and the whole layout is sort of angled towards the driver. Now that's very much true in this car as well, and the only thing you have really pointing towards the passenger is the AC vent over here.
That should be enough. That's plenty. So there you have it, the BMW M235i xDrive Gran Coupe. It is a mouthful and it is a whole heap of pieces to put together, but it really does work. It's an enjoyable vehicle that offers you some M Sport, I don't know, ferociousness without taking it to the normal nth degree. It's very cool.
It's something that can certainly scare you, but also do the more mundane things like driving to work and to the shops. It's happy to do both, but obviously a little bit happier when it really gets to prove these M credentials.
Nice. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe,
and once you're done watching our videos, make sure you keep your eyes on the road.